on a no-knock warrant and raiding your piece over a St. Paul police warrant for items, not for people, for items. And that should have happened not as a pre-dawn raid, but during the broad daylight when the people are awake. From what we understand, the gentleman was startled when people came blasting through his door, and he did what people who are legal gun owners do, which is an attempt to defend himself. And this was how he ended up dead. This is appalling to our organization, to any good people in our community would be absolutely appalled by this. And the fact that we went to the legislature last year and got a bill passed against these no-knock warrants, or to basically prevent them from being used in careless ways. And the fact that now we have a death in the city as a result of such a warrant, we are thoroughly disgusted. We denounce this and we demand that the videotapes related to this incident be released immediately. And I'm talking about the body camera footage, of course. We also demand that the names of the officers be formally released immediately. Our organization took a lawsuit against the Minneapolis Police for withholding this information. In the past, they have agreed as part of the settlement to our lawsuit to release information on these cases expeditiously, such as the names of the officers and the names of the victims. And yet now we approach 12 hours after this incident and we still don't know these names in a formal manner. And so we are demanding the names be released, and we are demanding that the... Thank you.
Coming up next, we have Yakima Levy-Armstrong, civil rights attorney and leader.
Thank you. Thank you all for gathering. It's freezing cold out here, so I will be brief. I echo the concerns that Michelle Gross raised today about the killing of Amir. Amir was less than 25 years old. He didn't even have an opportunity to live his life the way that he should have. And it's very frustrating and upsetting to see the Minneapolis Police Department continue with business as usual. Are any of us surprised? No, we're not surprised that the culture within the Minneapolis Police Department has not changed. But we are calling upon the leadership of this city, specifically Mayor Jacob Fry, as well as Interim Chief Huffman, to work more urgently alongside of our working group in order to implement cultural changes within the Minneapolis Police Department. When I first heard about this incident early this morning, my first question was, why would MPD get involved in executing a warrant on behalf of the St. Paul Police Department? There is nothing under the law in the state of Minnesota that required the Minneapolis Police Department to get involved. They could have declined to participate, they could have deferred the matter to another agency, or they could have called upon the St. Paul Police Department to carry out its own dirty work. But instead, they acted bloodthirsty by calling in a SWAT team to come inside of this residential building that includes many families, community members, and children, some of whom were getting ready for school, and instead of being able to go about their day, they had to learn about the murder of a young black man. When I heard that the young man was armed in this situation, my first question was, does that justify the use of deadly force? I too am a licensed gun owner. And if someone showed up at my house at 6-something in the morning and I did not expect them to be there, I cannot guarantee that my hand wouldn't be on my gun. But does that mean that I'm a threat to police, a threat to officers? No, it means exercise due diligence. Don't bust into people's homes. They could have waited for whomever they were after to come outside of the building instead of busting into an apartment. We know how these things end. All we have to do is look at what happened to Breonna Taylor. A life that was needlessly lost at the hands of police. So we are asking for Minneapolis police to exercise restraint, to be accountable, to release information to the public, such as what was already requested, and to not make excuses for this tragedy. We're also calling upon the St. Paul Police Department to be accountable. We have no information from them about what this warrant even consisted of and why it was so urgent to bust into somebody's apartment in the wee hours of the morning. Thank you.
Coming up next, we have Toussaint Morrison, community member and activist.
I'll be brief as well. Thank you all for coming out in the cold. Within one swift sentence from major media, they said that Amir had a handgun and they had a warrant to a no-knock warrant, which essentially says the cops had every right to do what they did, and they did not. It's unprecedented to release body cam footage the same day that these things happen. It's also unprecedented for 2 law enforcement officers to be charged and convicted in the same calendar year, yet that culture is changing in Minnesota. So they know what time it is. They know what they need to do. And I was also told by people that live in this apartment building that SWAT then went up a floor above where they killed Amir because they had questions for the apartment above saying, we're sorry. They were told that a bullet went through the ceiling. So they were checking on people above. This is reckless. And this is what I was told from somebody that lives inside the building. This is reckless. They could have done this differently. And culturally, this needs to change. So we are demanding the body cam footage. We're demanding the names of the officers. And we're also demanding, why were they there? Why could they not wait for this man to come outside of his apartment building and talk to him? Why could they have done this differently? Why did they have to endanger every single person in this apartment building? Somebody could have been out in the hallway. Somebody could have got shot above. Anybody in the military knows that you have to case the background before you shoot, yet MPD, St. Paul Police Department, and SWAT run around this town like deputized cowboys shooting wherever they want. That has to change. And we're demanding the names of the officers, why they were there, and the body cam footage. Thank you.
Next, we have Tashira Garway, president of Family Supporting Families.
I am here today to stand for the family, as being a family that have already lost a loved one at the hands of police here in the state of Minnesota. They continue to hurt our families over and over and over again. They continue to hurt people and no accountability. This man did not even know who was entering, and here we are again standing out here in the community demanding justice, demanding answers. If nothing was done wrong in this situation, they should be able to release the video footage immediately. This is what we want. We're done with the cover-ups. We're done taking their answers. We know they can be untruthful and unhonest and not honest with the community. We deserve answers. We're in the middle of fighting for George Floyd's, the murderers that killed him. And here we are with another man being killed and no answers given out to the community. We need the truth. We need honesty. We need transparency. We need people to act like human beings. Stop harming our community and not giving us the answers we deserve. Again, if nothing was done wrong, then they need to release the videos immediately. We need the videos. Our community deserves it. Thank you.
That's right. That's right.
That's right.
That's right. That's right.
They just released the name of one of the officers who did the shooting. So let them know.
They just released one of the names of the officers who did the shooting.
Mark Hanneman.
Mark Hanneman. Coming up next, we have DJ Hooker, TCC4J.
My name is DJ. I'm with TCC4J. I just wanted to say what happened this morning is irresponsible, and this is why we need to see policy change. This is why we need for these bills to be passed, like the no-knock warrant, like video footage being released in the first 48 hours, like no qualified immunity. We need these bills to be passed. We need people to tell us that we are going to be safe, because this is going to continue to happen. We can't even sit in our house at the beginning of Black History Month and sit here and actually want to enjoy ourselves, because we have the police coming in, knocking down our door and making decisions in 9 seconds.
Right.
They decided if a black man got to live or die in 9 seconds.
Right.
How can you make that kind of decision that quickly? How do you go for lethal and that's your first thing? We need accountability, okay? And let me tell you what accountability is. It's not the Mayor Fry going up there and doing a press conference and telling us about transparency as he literally tells us no information. That's not transparency.
And not taking questions from
And
the
not
public.
answering
And not taking questions from the public. We need them to be transparent, and we need them to do what they say, because what they do is they talk the talk, but I need them to walk the walk, okay?
Speak that.
So we need to see the video footage, and we need to get these cops fired and convicted and prosecuted. Because we need to see it for ourselves, because if we don't get to see the footage, they don't care about it. They're not going to care, like the Ahmaud Arbery. They saw that footage, but until the public saw it, they didn't care.
Say that.
We need to see the footage because we know they don't care, but we care about our own people. And coming here at 6 in the morning and going into a crowded place with a bunch of kids and families and just start shooting like crazy, that's not the way to ever do this. And we need to make sure that this never happens again.
Exactly.
All power to the people!
All power to the people!
Lastly, we have Zainab Muhammad, community organizer for CARE Minnesota.
All right, Zainab.
Is Esther here? Is Esther here?
Hi everyone, I'm Zainab Muhammad, and I'm an organizer with CARE Minnesota. Once again, I'm sad that we're standing here under such sad circumstances. We've been through a lot this past year and a half, and we've definitely been through a lot with the murder of George Floyd. Now I just want to say, if it takes 9 seconds to take a life of somebody, that it should take 9 seconds to release the full information.
That's right.
We stood all year in demanding for justice and accountability for all lives that have been lost under the hands of our police officers. And nothing's come out of that at the state level, at the city level, at the county level. We need transparency, we need accountability, and that starts with passing some real policies in our police officers. And like DJ says, that starts with passing things like no-knock warrants. It shouldn't take this long to release the names of officers. It shouldn't take community waiting and standing around. And it most definitely should not take a press conference by community for this to happen. If we want our police officers to be able to really serve our communities, then we must do it the right way. And that starts with listening to the calls by the community. Thank you.
That's right. Thank you.
Zainab, Z-A-Y-N-A-B, Mohammed, M-O-H-A-M-E-D.
Do any of you guys know who Amir is? Have you guys been able to contact the family? Have they said anything?
I just want to ask the question, is anyone here from Amir's family? So they were hoping to join us tonight, but as you all know, this was a complete shock to them that this happened to Amir. It was completely unexpected. They have their own perspective about what happened in this situation, and there's been at least one statement by a family member that was posted to Facebook where they claim in the statement that Amir was licensed to carry. So that is a question that we have for the Minneapolis Police Department, whether Amir was licensed to carry. And how long did they wait before coming into the apartment before everything that transpired. So yeah, so our heart goes out to Amir's family. They don't deserve this. They are grieving. This is unacceptable.
Is there any for Amir?
We don't have Amir's last name. We did not want to intrude upon his family. Last that we heard, the city was waiting for the medical examiner to officially release his full name.
Is there any indication as to why the officers were there? Was he a target of the investigation? Do you have any idea at this point?
That's a good question. And I think that that's a question that needs to be answered, because from my perspective, the city has been vague, specifically about what was in that particular search warrant, who they were looking for, and what they did. Also, who authorized a SWAT team at 6 a.m. to come out to this building? The SWAT teams aren't just sitting around waiting, especially with the department being down hundreds of officers. So who orchestrated this within the Minneapolis Police Department? Who authorized it, and why? Why was this the priority when a shooting happened on Hennepin Avenue at 1-something in the morning? And that person who did the shooting, from my understanding, has not been apprehended. So why would carrying out a search warrant on behalf of the St. Paul Police Department be a priority? We have people in our city who call 911 and don't get a response. But you can have St. Paul Police the deadliest police force in the state, call upon Minneapolis police to do their dirty work, and that's what they go and do. That is not acceptable. So one of my questions to the mayor and to the interim chief is, are there other pending requests from other Minnesota law enforcement agencies to execute search warrants? If that is the case, they need to say no. MPD is not equipped right now at this state of the department to handle those kinds of requests and to treat people with dignity, as we see as what happened today. Other questions?
Anything coming out of St. Paul from their police department, have you been able to connect with them at all regarding the said homicide investigation?
We have not heard a single thing from anyone within the St. Paul Police Department. And part of the problem here is that when Minneapolis police carry out the dirty work for the St. Paul Police can hide their hand and let the BCA take control. We do not trust the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. There is nothing under the law that requires the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension to investigate killings by police. They are not qualified. They have shown that they are incompetent. They have shown that they are corrupt. So we have called upon Governor Walz time and time again to establish an office of the independent prosecutor that would be able to rigorously investigate killings by police officers. And for with this huge surplus, there's absolutely no excuse to set up an office like that and to fully fund it.
That's right.
Other questions?
Have the new police chief said anything? Is she going to release the body footage, Karen, perhaps?
We have not received any indication that the interim police chief plans to release the body camera footage. When I spoke with her this morning after hearing about this incident, I asked her if she would personally watch the body camera footage so that we would not have another George Floyd situation where the public relations person puts out a false statement about what happened. So she said that she did watch the body camera footage, but they have given no indication that they plan to release it. They said that the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension is handling the investigation, which again we have concerns about because the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension is not a trustworthy agency.
You've come under fire by certain local activists on Twitter as to be communicating with the police department. I'm wondering if you could talk about your reasoning, like how you work with the police and why it's important.
Well, I would say for me personally, I'm a black woman who lives in North Minneapolis and who, at the time of being the Minneapolis NAACP president, would receive calls as other presidents have throughout the history of the organization. And even today, the current Minneapolis NAACP president was contacted by the Minneapolis Police. I don't know those other activists. I don't answer to them. Who I do answer to is the black community. And we are fed up with having white progressives and those who are disconnected from the black community make decisions for us. We don't have a seat at their table. I don't care how they claim to represent us. They don't represent our interests.
Say that.
Black people want to feel safe from police and safe from community violence. That's the bottom line.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions? Comments? All right. Thank you all for being here. This concludes the press conference.
Thank you guys.
Will there be a vigil still? I know that was like mentioned of a vigil.
Were you able to get candles?
We got candles down here, but I think it's so damn cold. We should have you know.
Oh, they you sure nobody wants to?
We got candles here, but it's so damn cold.
Was that okay? Is there anything else we need to add? Okay.
I actually just called you.
Well, Michelle, you're up.
Huh?
Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
See you later.
We could, but not while I'm standing out here where he's going, if that's okay. I'm like freezing and I want to get in my car. But I, huh? Yeah, okay, I'll tell you the rest.
We wanted to do the vigil here. There are members of your family here. So if people can stand, we can do that there.
And then one of them said,